Hey gang, here comes your Thursday poll question at smerconish.com. Decades from now, will presidents be hosting parties in the quote-unquote Trump ballroom, or will they be pretending that it was never constructed? I speak, of course, of the ballroom that is now being erected in lieu of the traditional East Wing of the White House. It seems like, according to the latest reports, that the entire East Wing is being demolished, which is in contradiction of what the initial articulated plan was going to be. You're wondering, why am I huffing and puffing and speaking as I'm walking? That will be evident in just a few moments. Thank you to my friends at Parks Casino in Shippensburg. Nice time of year to go to Parks in Shippensburg. The foliage, as I've been saying, is really something to behold. There's a lot of great mingling opportunities at Parks in Shippensburg, parkscasino.com. All you've got to do, the suspense is building, right? All you've got to do is go to parkscasino.com and see what's going on in Shippensburg. Take a nice drive, accessible to central and western Pennsylvania and Maryland and a lot of other communities. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, now do you know where I am? You should, because this is the White House. Yeah, there we go. So I'm at the White House because I want to take a look at how they're doing this construction and what's going on. So let me see. Whoa, wow. Whoa. Wow. Oh yeah, the entire East Wing is gone. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I can't tell if they are finished for the day. I'm trying to see if there's any activity. Yeah, I mean, you can just look and see the disconnect. I don't want to drop my phone on that side of the fence. I'll never get it back. So, oh no, constructions, I mean, the cranes are moving. There, look, there it is. There it is. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, really interesting. So I said on radio that I've been in the White House. Let me try and get away from the music so that I can concentrate and speak a little bit. What a scene this is. Holy crap. Actually, let me just give you a little taste of what it's all about. And look at the size of that flag. Yeah, I haven't physically been here since the big flagpoles went up, and surely haven't been here since the East Wing came down. Now from this angle I can get a much better look, and I can see the actual movement of the construction equipment. All right, let me get away from the music and hopefully you can hear me, because I do have thoughts on the matter. I definitely have thoughts on the matter. Hopefully I'm not walking into a forbidden area. I said on radio on Wednesday that I remember what it was like to drive on Pennsylvania Avenue, right here. You know, this is all barricaded and closed. I remember what it was like to drive a car here. I remember driving my Datsun B210 right here in front of the White House. So that's the old executive office building. I interned in that space. The old EOB, the Eisenhower Office Executive, what would it be? The OEOB, the old executive office building. I know Eisenhower's name in there. It used to be the Department of War, is what it used to be. And then, you know, over here, you've got the West Wing. The West Wing is the Oval Office over there toward the residence. And, you know, this is where all of the activity of the chief executive takes place. The media are over there. In fact, you can see some media members doing stand-up routine over there. And then it's the residence. And then the East Wing, west, east, the East Wing is traditionally where the First Lady's office is located. And oftentimes when I've been here, I've come into a number of the different gates, but coming in for White House Christmas parties, which I've done on many occasions, you would traditionally come in from, what would that be? The west, the east, the north, I guess it would be the southeast gate. And then you'd come through the East Wing, and then you'd come through the East Wing and you would walk down a corridor. The White House movie theater is located there. There really wasn't much that was publicly to see in the East Wing, but that is the area that is being demolished for a ballroom. Do they need a ballroom? I believe they do need a ballroom, because apart from the East Room, and boy, I can see the demo taking place as I'm speaking, which I know is unsettling to a lot of people. They need the ballroom. In my view, they need the ballroom. They need the space for entertaining. The issue is, what's it going to look like when it's finished? How much of President Trump's thumbprint is going to be on it? I looked at a long story in the Washington Post today, written by Dan Diamond and others, laying out the bureaucratic web of who has to be involved or what organization has to be involved before this building can be touched. It's very complicated, but it seems like there's not much that can be done by the so-called preservationists to stop this process. What would I like to see happen? I'd like to see the White House be upgraded in keeping with the style of the White House, not violating any of the norms or traditions or historical significance of the White House. And it seems like President Trump instead is just, full speed ahead, doesn't want to have to deal with any of the bureaucracy and just get it done, because otherwise it would probably take him years, and he wants to put it to use. So is it something that I think the White House needs from my limited visits and knowledge of the situation? I do. I think they need it for state visits and for formal functions, but I just don't want it to be outsized and garish. I mean, that's my bottom line. I don't want it to be outsized and garish. I want it to be in keeping with the building. And I thought that if for today's poll question I were to ask anything at all in terms of the propriety of this, it would be a 90-10 result, and people who vote at my website would say that they're in opposition to what President Trump is seeking to do. So I wanted instead to make it a bit more nuanced, and my attempt at nuance is to say, okay, when the dust settles, literally the construction dust that I'm seeing over there right now, when the dust settles, what will future presidents do? Will they end up hosting events from the new, quote unquote Trump ballroom? Or are they going to pretend? Are they going to pretend that it was never even constructed? I think that's a really interesting question. I'm seeking to ask something about which there could be a genuine divide. And that's the best that I was able to come up with. So you may have heard me say also on radio today that I know what it's like to be right inside the front door, albeit not today, and looking out at the people like these people who are looking in. And I know it's a stupid thought, but I've stood here many, many times. Here, I'll stand here again. I've stood here many, many times looking in and wondering, everybody likes to take a picture here. I've stood, right here. And there, under the portico, right at the front door, you can see one person there. I know what it's like to stand in there and look out. And I don't know why, foolishly, I've said, geez, I can see them. Can they see me? Yeah, the answer is, of course they can. Of course they can. There's a good view of the construction. Look at the movement of the Volvo. That's the name of the machinery. On there, you can see the arm of it, if I'm showing it. And you can see water being poured on the East Wing as well to try and keep down the construction dust. And then, of course, Treasury is over there. I don't want to stick my face or my hand too far in, but that's Treasury over there. And there were reports that the administration was saying, don't go putting any photos online of the construction. Let's see what this is all about. How you doing? No kings, no dictators. Antifa says, release the Epstein files. Okay. It's a scene. It's a frickin' scene. This gentleman is grooving. He's being rewarded. Okay. Oh yeah, Trump hats over here. A lot of different style, doing a brisk business. All right, well, what a day, huh? So the poll question today on this Thursday at Smirconish.com asks, wait, I gotta see, what is he singing? What language is he singing? Hey, it's a free country. It is a free country. So, all right. Poll question today at Smirconish.com. Sorry if I'm a little disjointed. I'm just trying to take it all in and give you a walking tour. This is Lafayette Square. I've always loved Lafayette Square. St. John's Church is straight across from where I'm walking right now. The church is where, well, you remember when President Trump walked right across this square with General Milley in tow and carrying a Bible, 2 Corinthians kind of stuff. So the poll question today at Smirconish.com asks, in the future, decades from now, will American presidents be hosting parties from that ballroom that's now being constructed, or are they going to be pretending it never even happened? My prediction is they'll be hosting. They'll be hosting. Maybe they'll make some stylistic different choices, but yeah, look at that view. But I think they'll end up using it. Did I make clear my view of this? I think the White House needs a ballroom, but this is not the way to get it done. How often do I say that? The objective is something I agree with, but the way in which they get there, no. And once again, that's how I see it in this case. But if he went through all the traditional norms, it would never happen. It would never happen, which is not to excuse not doing it. Somewhere in between, I think there was probably a good solution. Thank you, Parks Casino. This is how you win. And remember, episode 5 of the Mingle Project. Episode 5 of the Mingle Project drops 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Let's see what's for sale. Okay, Trump hats, $15. And here is the church that I referenced. All right, go vote on the Thursday poll question. Wait, I want to show you one more thing at St. John's Church. Hold on. Yeah, this is the sign. I wanted to show you this as long as I'm here. So here's the church. And my recollection is that it was this sign right here. My recollection is that it's this sign right here that President Trump walked up to. My recollection is there'd been like fire damage and there were all those, post George Floyd protests. And then he came right here to this sign and delivered remarks. At least that's how I remember it. Okay, go vote at Smirconish.com. Apologies again for the walk and talk, but poll question of the day asks, decades from now, American presidents, are they going to be hosting events, in what is now being constructed, or are they going to be pretending it never took place? Let's just see the speaker series for St. John's Church. Let me see who's coming in. Daniel Shapiro, former U.S. ambassador to Israel. Okay. William Taylor, former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. Deborah Bruno. A lot of good speakers. Oh, one more thing. I know I keep saying that. Remember, this is Black Lives Matter Plaza. This is where everything had been painted. And now has been removed. Look at this, bus number 5. Wow, whoa. Hello, bus number 5. All right, gang. That was fun, at least for me. Go vote. And tonight, YouTube, 8 p.m., episode 5 of The Mingle Project. See ya.